Hello, I'm Simon Pegg, aka Montgomery Scott.
This is Chris Pine, James D. Kerr.
This is John Cho. You're watching TrekNews.de.
TrekNews.de.
And you're watching Sci-Fi News TV.
Das verbindet mich mit Star Trek, was sonst?
Ein herzliches Hallo aus dem sonnigen Berlin. Hier findet heute am 16.04. die Deutschland-Premiere von Star Trek Die Zukunft hat begonnen statt. Und wir zeigen euch natürlich die besten Eindrücke. Viel Spaß mit der neuen Sendung Sci-Fi News TV live.
First of all, thank you very much for welcoming us here to Berlin. We're thrilled to be here and really appreciate your welcome. It's a very surreal experience to be involved in something that is so iconic. And I feel very lucky to have done it with this group. And as someone who is not a huge Trek fan to begin with, I've become one. And it's mostly because I've discovered, a little bit late, there are fans pre-existed me for quite a while, but I've discovered how brilliant what Gene Roddenberry created really is.
Guten Tag. Wie geht's? Wie geht? Good. Okay. No, it's almost like having an experience outside of yourself when you see this little figurine, and then it's no different than watching a film that you're in. The first take, you're criticizing everything about your physical appearance, and then the second time you see the movie, you're actually seeing everything, the entire thing, the story, the cinematography, and then you love it. And so I thought that my doll had really skinny legs, but that's okay.
Taking this job had special significance for me in one respect. When I was a child, an immigrant from South Korea to the United States in the late 70s, as an Asian American, I wasn't particularly pleased with what was on television. People with faces like me weren't represented particularly well, but George Takei and the show was a real exception. It was a spectacular exception, and it was such a positive portrayal and a positive show. And so it was extremely meaningful for me to watch him then as a boy, and it's really meaningful for me to follow in his footsteps.
I can speak to that as well, having the great pleasure and honor to work directly with Leonard. So for me, even though I think the character is magnetic and complex and interesting in its own right, to get to know the man that brought him to life and had such an incredible experience with him for over 40 years, and to really sort of have the torch be passed from him to me was an incredible honor that I'm sure will remain so for the rest of my career and life.
Guten Tag. I had a long-standing deep appreciation for Star Trek. I watched the original show as a boy, and to me, I was always drawn more to this sort of cult of personality than the element of science fiction. I think that the vision that Gene Roddenberry created back in the mid-'60s is such a positive note. This utopian society that had evolved beyond internal conflict and was striving to explore space, and I think that's part of the enduring appeal of Star Trek. And for me, it was a real honor and a pleasure to take on such an iconic role that was so wonderfully developed by the late Mr. Kelly.
They said it wasn't a job for me, not least because I didn't get paid. I only found out that they did yesterday. I paid JJ a small fee to be in this film. But it was an awesome honor to be part of this because I've watched it since I was a child, and not only to be part of the story, but to be able to act alongside Leonard and do scenes with a character that I've known since I was a child. Not just the actor, but the character. To be in context with him was extraordinary, and as for everybody here, was a complete labour of love. So I would like some money at some point, though. Just let's put that out there.
It was a very peculiar feeling to be on that bridge because it was spectacular, and it was very emotional for me walking on. I know Carl didn't care at all. He's very blasé about things like that, but
Es tut mir leid, aber mein Deutsch ist nicht so gut. Ich möchte Ihnen sagen, John Cho sprechen kein Deutsch. Du bist ein Dummkopf, John.
Danke, Carl.
Du
Danke.
stinkst. Aber ich liebe dich. Danke.
It was incredible to meet Leonard. Although our first meeting left me a little quizzical, we were in an elevator at Comic-Con, which is where we announced that I'd be playing the role and that he'd be in the movie. It was similar to a panel like this, except there were 6,000 people in this hall, and it was my first experience with Star Trek, and there was a lot of energy around it. We were crammed in this elevator that was a very slow-moving elevator. It was going up, and there was a lot of hustle and bustle, and I was sort of casually introduced to him in the elevator. And then the elevator doors opened, and we were all ushered out, and as soon as the doors opened, before he walked out, he just looked at me and said, "You have no idea what you're in for, kid," and then he just was off. And I was like,
I'm a bit of a sci-fi fan myself. You know, I've long been a bit of a geek, and I've been to conventions, and so I have an idea of what it is. I'm always impressed by the love and dedication that this story gets from people. You know, it's so beloved, and I hope that we join that.
We were very, very lucky. I thought that the hardest role to cast would be Spock. For some reason, how are we ever going to... And the first person we cast was Zachary. He walked into the room, and I was just, like, it was just amazing. Talking to him, he asked great questions. We were looking like crazy, and Chris, in the early stages had sort of come in, and we saw 1 million people, and it was so hard to find someone. And Chris came in the second time and actually was good the second time. Because the first time, I'll show you. Let's watch.
Star Trek ist zurück. Es ist wunderbar und wir hoffen, Ihnen gefällt unser Film. Vielen Dank.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Carl. Meine Damen und Herren, Simon Pegg, Carl Urban, Eric Bana, Chris Pine, J.J. Abrams, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, and John Cho. Thank you very much.
There are a lot of challenges that come with it. Obviously, I think the awareness of these characters and the place that they hold in the zeitgeist and the sort of iconic nature of them was the first sort of hurdle. And then also sort of just the duality of this character, the fact that he feels such deep emotion but is not able to express it in the same way as if he was all human. But I feel really fortunate to have had Leonard available to me and connected with me through this process. To be under the direction of J.J. Abrams is an incredible gift in an actor's life. So I feel like I had more going for me than against me. Thank you very much, you guys. Have a good night.
Well, the challenge was, I guess, to come up with something fresh. Nero's a character that hasn't been seen before in the Star Trek series, so I was very happy to take that on and get a chance to, be virtually unrecognisable with all that makeup and everything. So it was good fun. It was just a great experience. JJ's a very funny guy. He has a great energy and he's really fantastic to work with.
I think that people are aware of Scotty who don't even know Star Trek, who haven't even watched Star Trek or aren't fans. Star Trek is such an important part of our culture. The first space shuttle was called Enterprise. You only have to look at mobile phones, cell phones. They flip open like the old communicators. Star Trek's had a huge impact on the world, And I think Scotty is one of those characters that people remember just because he was so bright and clever and funny and smart. It was an honor to play him, and I only hope I can do James Doohan proud. She's the most beautiful woman in the world right there.
What were you saying?
I was talking about Star Trek and stuff.
You're talking about me.
Yes, you. Best Uhura ever.
You are a Trekkie. You're the biggest Trekkie in the cast, and you know that.
I am.
Okay?
I'm a nerd.
So say that.
I'm the biggest Trekkie in the
Geeks
cast.
United!
Yeah! Star Trek paints a very optimistic view of the future. It's a world where we all work together and and cooperate and explore. And I only hope that's the universe that we live in. Hopefully, without the aggressive Klingons and Romulans. Obviously, it'd be nice if everybody was nice, but you can't have everything. I know all the characters. I can name episodes from the original series. I know all the spin-offs. I know a lot about Star Trek. That still doesn't make me a Trekkie. Being a Trekkie is a way of life, and it's an honourable and rarefied pastime. So I think I'd be flattering myself if I called myself a Trekkie. I think physicists recently discovered a way of manipulating two corresponding electrons at the same time, which could be the beginning of teleportation, but it's a long way off. The essence of Star Trek for me is just a very forward-thinking, very positive story about human beings working together and exploring the universe. It's all about hope, Star Trek. I think that's what underpins the whole story is hope, and I think that's why it's endured for so long.
In the press conference, you talked about your convention experiences. What was the most memorable?
Oh, I mean, I've had so many. I've been there as a fan and as a participant, and just seeing that amount of people get together and all express their love for something unashamedly, unabashedly, dressing up, having fun. It offers hope for the human race, I think. If we could all be that in love with something, then the world will be a better place.
How do you feel playing this historic character, Kirk?
I had a lot of fun, and I made the movie with a bunch of people that I really like, and I think there's something to be said for that. I had a hell of a good time. I'm having a lot of fun promoting it. I'm having a lot of fun going around the world and telling people how much I enjoy the movie, and I hope to spread that enthusiasm.
So you're up for a next installment of the Star Trek franchise on the big screen?
Absolutely, if they'll have me. I'm just kind of more concentrated on getting this one out there, and hopefully, knock on wood, it'll do well. But if they were to ask me back, I'd definitely do it.
What is for you the essence of Star Trek?
The essence of Star Trek, I think, is a positive message, a positive vision of humanity that Gene Roddenberry had back in the late 60s and was the spirit of the original series, and I think is exactly what JJ brings to this, is that essentially if we all work together we can achieve great things. And I think something that sounds maybe as corny as that is also something that's very powerful, and especially in a time of two wars and much economic strife, to have a vision that's, you can call it cheesy or whatever, but I think it's wonderful.
And you seem to fight a lot in the movie. Did you have special training for it?
Yeah, we did. Went in a couple of months early, and I'd never done anything like that before. I'd never taken a martial arts class in my life, so I was really starting from ground zero, and so we went in every day, I think pretty much every day, and trained and got into shape, and so that we could be believable doing that stuff.
So how did the casting process work for you? How did you get to this role?
When I heard about the project, I called my agents and said, "You got to get me in. You got to get me in a room with JJ." And so I was able to audition, and I auditioned once and didn't hear for a couple of months, and then I heard the good news while I was on my honeymoon in Florence. Thank you. About my marriage or the role? Both.
So are you a science fiction fan yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I used to like science fiction movies when I was a kid, really. The Star Wars movies, also Tron was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and what else? Like Close Encounters. So yeah, not huge, but yes, good ones.
I'm wondering, how did you end up doing a Star Trek movie?
Well, I was involved as a producer, which I thought was exciting to try and do a version of Star Trek that was different than what you'd seen. And then when I read the script, I was so struck by the characters and the action of it. And I just thought if I didn't direct it, I'd be jealous of whoever did. So
what's for you the essence of Star Trek?
I think the essence is that there's, it's optimistic, it's fast-paced, it's action, it's great characters, and it's a vision of the future that I think is wondrous and amazing. And that to me is never a bad thing to see.
Was für mich mit Star Trek verbindet, ich bin ja auch so ein Typ, weißt du, Captain Kirk ist unterwegs, um fremde Welten zu erforschen, mit einer Crew, die ich auch habe hier, weißt du, Männer, die etwas gesehen haben, was noch nie gegeben hat, bin hinter jeder Grenze, zum Beispiel, das verbindet mich mit Star Trek, was sonst?
Was erwartest du beim Film?
Das ist ja die Urversion, das ist ja das Gute dabei. Und das ist die Nullversion, also wir erleben die kleinen Kirk und den kleinen Spock und so. Und wie das alles angefangen. Ich habe die Serie früher gesehen, habe mir gedacht, was war eigentlich vorher? Was war da los? Was gab's denn da eigentlich? Wie hat das alles angefangen? Was haben die gemacht, als sie noch nicht auf der Enterprise waren? Und das werden wir heute in diesem Film erfahren. Darauf bin ich sehr, sehr neugierig.
Viel, viel Spaß.
Dankeschön, auf Wiederhören.
Hello, Berlin.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. I'm very excited to be here and to present to you our little movie. I'm so excited to be back in Berlin, and I wish I could just stay.
Brian Burke.
There he is, look, Brian. A character called Sulu. John Cho is here somewhere. There he is. John Cho. Look at that.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, he plays McCoy. It's Carl Urban.
Yes!
Look. The wonderful thing about Carl Urban, unlike myself, unlike Brian, is Carl speaks German. So let's hear how he speaks, ladies and gentlemen.
Guten Abend, meine Freunde, wie geht's? Es ist heiß, ne? It's hot. Bist du warm? Ja. Star Trek war sehr schön zu machen und wir hoffen, Ihnen gefällt unser Film. Vielen Dank.
Wow! Wow! Simon Pegg is here.
Yes!
It was a big deal to cast the movie, and we had to find someone to play all of these characters. Maybe no one more important than James Tiberius Kirk. It was a big deal. We found him. He's here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Pine. Woo! Yes, Chris Pine. Who's next? Yes. There is no Kirk without Spock. Ladies and gentlemen, Silent from Heroes, he's here tonight, Zachary Quinto. We, of course, there are a lot of gentlemen on stage, and we also have a wonderful actress who's here tonight who plays Uhura, Zoe Saldana. She matches the curtain. We also our villain, because you can't have a hero without a villain. He's extraordinary to work with. He's here tonight. Eric Bana is here. Here he comes. So thank you for your welcome, your warmth, your hospitality. We hope you like the movie. We're so grateful to you. And there are flowers, ladies and gentlemen. There are flowers on stage. Oh, that's so nice. Look at that. So thank you very much for having us. We hope you enjoy the film Star Trek.
Meine Damen und Herren, Brian Burke, J.J. Abrams, Eric Bana, Carl Urban, John Scholl, Simon Pegg, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and Zoe Saldana. Herzlich willkommen in Berlin. Thank you very much for being here.
Kommen Sie gerade aus der Filmpremiere. Wie hat Ihnen der Film gefallen?
Viel Geballer. Also ich will mal so sagen, es waren mir zu viele Effekte dabei gewesen. Ich hätte mir gewünscht, dass ich ein bisschen mehr von den Darstellern gesehen hätte. Die Darstellung war gut gewesen, also so wie es aufgebaut war, dass man kennenlernt, wie sie sich kennengelernt haben. Die einzelnen Darsteller, also Captain Kirk und die ganze Teile, und vor allen Dingen war es gut, dass der alte Spock dabei war, dass Nemo dabei war. Das war eine gute Überraschung, es war auch sehr gut gelungen.
Ja, auch als Nicht-Trekkie hat man gut reingefunden und konnte der Handlung auch folgen und wird auch gut eingewiesen in das Star Trek-Universum, und ich fand es auf jeden Fall sehr unterhaltsam.
Ich fand den Film auch super. Es hat mich sehr gewundert, dass er so gut ist. Ich dachte so, der wird bestimmt so mittelmäßig, aber der hat mich überzeugt.
Ja, als alter Trekkie hat er meine Erwartungen übertroffen. Ich war total fasziniert. Ja, verdammt. Wow. Okay. Total genial.
Wann hast du zum ersten Mal Star Trek gesehen?
Das ist schon Jahre her. Ganz am Anfang angefangen mit der Enterprise. Über Voyager, Deep Space Nine, alles.
Ja, ich bin begeistert. Ich fand den Film geil. Also eigentlich fand ich Star Trek immer ein bisschen langweilig so, weil es war sowas, was mein Vater gesehen hat immer. Und das ist natürlich ein bisschen langweilig für einen, aber ich fand's geil, ja.
Du hast jetzt hier gerade Star Trek 11 gesehen. Die Zukunft hat begonnen. Hat sie das auch für dich?
Nö, eigentlich nicht. Ich bin jetzt nicht so der große Star Trek-Fan.
Hat dich der Film also enttäuscht?
Ich hatte eigentlich keine Erwartung an den Film, weil ich jetzt nicht so die große Ahnung von Star Trek habe.
Aber du gehst jetzt auch nicht raus aus dem Kino und sagst, wow, das hat mir gut gefallen?
Doch, hat mir gut gefallen, ja.
Was hat dir gefallen?
Keine Ahnung, die schauspielerischen Leistungen. Also als Nicht-Science-Fiction-Fan des Star Trek-Films fand ich ihn eigentlich doch ganz gut. Ich hatte mir weniger erhofft.
Super, war richtig gut.
Warum hat es dir gefallen?
Weil es die ganze Zeit spannend geblieben ist.
Hattest du jetzt so eine gewisse Vorkenntnisse in Sachen Star Trek oder war das völliges Neuland?
Also ich sag mal so, ich war kein Trekkie, aber wir haben beide festgestellt, wie sehr wir doch Star Trek geliebt haben als Teenager und dass man das echt mal wieder aufwärmen müsste.
Es kann also ein 12. Teil kommen?
Ja, klar, wenn der so gut ist wie der auf jeden Fall.
Okay,
das absolute Highlight im Film war eigentlich, ich glaube, das Beamen. Das Beamen bei Warpgeschwindigkeit.
Spock.
Auf jeden Fall.
Auf jeden Fall.
Kann dann ein 12. Star Trek Teil kommen?
Auf jeden Fall.
Vielen Dank, schönen Abend. Das war die Deutschland-Premiere von Star Trek 11 hier im wunderschönen Berlin. Die Hunderten von Fans sind jetzt im Kinosaal, werden den Film genießen können. Und ich würde mich freuen, wenn auch ihr Spaß hattet, hier bei der ersten Ausgabe von SCIFINEWS TV Live, nur auf tracknews.de. Schaltet auch das nächste Mal wieder ein, wenn wir von so einem Event berichten. Und viel Spaß und viel Glück vor allem beim Gewinnspiel. Bis bald.